Okay, I won't leave the meeting. Would be a shame. Yes, I'll start with the dedication of offerings. Hello, Guy. Good to see you. And a dedication of offerings in the 3 Refuges and the 5 Precepts. So I'll share that screen. To the Blessed One, the Lord who fully attained perfect enlightenment, to the teaching which he expounded so well, and to the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, to these the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, we render with offerings our rightful homage. It is well for us that the Blessed One, having attained liberation, still had compassion for later generations. May these simple offerings be accepted for our long-lasting benefit and for the happiness it gives us. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and Blessed One, I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. The teaching so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. So I'll go to the 3 Refuges. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sangham saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangham saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangham saranang gacchami. Oops. Panatipata Veramani Sikkhavadang Samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature. Adinna dana veramani sikkhavadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given. Kamesu michachara veramani sikkhavadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct. Musavada veramani sikkhavadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying. Sura meraya majja pamadatana veramani sikkhavadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness. Imani pancha sikkhavadani silena sugating yanti silena bhoga sampada silena niputing yanti tasma silang visodhaye. These are the 5 precepts. Virtue is the source of happiness. Virtue is the source of true wealth. Virtue is the source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So making the mind at ease and the body at ease. Making it sounds like hard work, but it's more about discovering a point of balance. We talk about centering the body and mind. You can center the body by finding a point of balance. That means a point of least effort, where the body is upright, naturally upright. It doesn't mean slumping. You can think that slumping would be least effort, but this is a point of balance, which is the least effort to hold the body upright against gravity. So we find a balanced posture, which is leaning neither left or right, forwards or back, and bring back the shoulders, tucking the chin, and discover. It's a discovery of an upright posture, which is also relaxed. And as it's always new, when we can never be sure exactly how it is, we discover it every time. When I go to Amaravati, then I take a cushion and put it on a mat. Or then that cushion is always new. I never know. It's never the same. So I adjust my posture to fit the cushion. And it's always a discovery to find that natural, upright posture. And as it is with the body, so it is with the mind. We never know how the mind will be. We never know whether the mind will be restless or sleepy, whether it will be easy to concentrate or very distracted. We never know how we'll feel, whether we'll feel positive or negative, or whether we'll be happy or sad. We've no idea. So we don't know, and so it's a path of discovery. We don't regard or give any importance to these conditions. We simply notice them. That way it's never possible to say, I can't meditate, because the conditions for meditation are always present. They're always here and now. Whatever it is. We cut through the habits of the mind. Our mental habits will say, I should do this. I shouldn't do that. It should be like this. It shouldn't be like that. I should try to get this. I should try to get away from that. And we can cut right through the center of that way of thinking. Mindfulness is not believing in, but noticing. We listen, cultivate the art of listening, but not believing in what we hear. The art of listening is simply to be present to that inner dialogue. But there's nothing we need to do. There's no need to interfere, to cut through the center, to the stillness that is that centeredness of the mind. The natural point of mental balance. Mindfulness is a gradual disentangling of the mind. When we notice, we step back, because without stepping back, we can't see clearly. One way to practice is to notice. It is a labeling process. We can notice, I feel warm. This is hot, feeling hot. It's hot. And that label can be helpful because it helps us to know what our experience is. This is the experience of feeling hot. But we disentangle by letting go of the label. So we investigate. So what's it feel like really when we let go of the label? What's this feeling hot like really? Layer by layer we let go, we disentangle of what we think it is until we discover what it really is. What is it really? What's there? What's the substance? Is there any substance to that thought? What is it really? We step back bit by bit, over and over, layer by layer. So whatever we experience, we step back, we disentangle the mind. Although we notice, we might name it. That's an opportunity to let go of the label. Not to believe it because we've named it, but to let go of the label and experience it as it really is. We find that we put new words, new labels to our experience. But eventually we run out of words. We give up on words. And it's like this, it's just like this. There's a stillness there, where words cease. There's an acceptance in that. A willingness to be with however it is. A different kind of knowing. Almost it requires us to unknow, let go of what we think we know, so that we can experience it as it really is. as we come closer to the end of our meditation, we can notice, just as we did at the beginning, how is it now? How is the experience of this? Not to judge with it should be this way or it shouldn't be like this. But being present and noticing how it is. If there's a calm, still center in our focus, that's what it's like. If the mind is restless, agitated, it's like this. It was never about getting from here to there. But simply being present with the way it is. There's a kindness in that. Compassion. In that non-judgmental awareness. A willingness to accept things as they are. To accept ourselves as we are. Ding. 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 What came to mind during the meditation when I suggested to take an object like that we label whatever arises, the label that we place on it, and to take the label away and experience it as it is. What came to mind was the Brahma Viharas. So I was reflecting on metta, karuna, upekkha, and mudita, metta, karuna, mudita, and upekkha. So these are labels, aren't they? And then we have a translation for those labels. We probably use the same translation over again. Maybe we have a translation for metta, kindness, for example, and a translation for karuna, which is compassion. Perhaps we choose that one. And from mudita, perhaps we choose joy. Perhaps that's our translation. And for upekkha, we choose equanimity. And these are labels. So I was investigating. So what is it like when we let go of those labels? How would we do that? And kindness is just a word, means nothing unless we experience it. So to let go of the word kindness, I had to go to take an object of someone who I naturally felt kindness towards, and felt those feelings of loving kindness towards that person, a friend, a good friend. So then I investigated with that, thinking, well, that's how that feeling is, feeling kindness towards that person. There's joy in that. That's wishing them to be happy. May they be happy. Is what we would say when we cultivate metta, loving kindness. So I connected with the feeling of kindness. Let that be present. So then I thought, so taking the same person, how would it be to feel karuna, compassion? How would that be? How would I feel compassion towards them? So I thought, how would that be? What's that feeling that arises when someone is suffering? And they're not happy. And a willingness to share that with them, to be open to their experience of pain. So I experienced that. How was that? How would that be with this same person, that they're sometimes happy and I can share in that loving kindness, that feeling of loving kindness towards them. But when they're unhappy, I feel compassion. And how's that feel? So then I thought, what would mudita be? So that's joy, or sharing in another person's joy. That's a joy for their blessings. Something that's good fortune, their good fortune. So I could think of some good fortune that person might have experienced, and wish them happiness and joy. How would that feel when that happens? What joyful feeling that's not selfish, not self-centered, but centered around the joy of someone else. And then when I got to the fourth one, I found that more challenging, the equanimity. So, well, how do you experience equanimity? What's that experience when you take away the label? So for that same person, I thought, how would that feel? What would the experience of equanimity be? What would those conditions be like? How would it be experienced? And I thought, yes, it would be like, there's nothing I need to do, that there's nothing I need to fix, that nothing I need to put right, that the relationship is fine, it's okay. There's an equanimous feeling about it because I don't need to put anything right. I don't need to explain anything to make it right. But that was just my own feeling. That was the best I could come up with for equanimity. And I think it was maybe good enough for me, but as I've been talking through these, I've not been trying to tell you the answer, but just give a personal reflection of how that process might work, that we might peel away the label and find the experience and don't trust the words, but keep peeling back. So I was thinking about equanimity. There's nothing I'd need to fix. It's just fine as it is. I would still need to peel those words away to rest in a feeling, that feeling of it's just fine. It's like, it's good, it's fine, it's okay. That's a wonderful feeling, because there's so many relationships we feel that we can't just relax into. That feeling of relaxation, of ease, that comes from a really wonderful relationship, not always, but some of the time. So, but then the challenge with our four Brahma Viharas is to make them universal, to make them unconditional and universal. It's not about just finding one person to have that feeling with, to have that about whom we can feel that feeling, but to be able to develop it and spread it to all beings unconditionally. And that's a big challenge, isn't it? To take that one feeling of a relationship that we've chosen to develop those qualities and reflect on those qualities, and to make them universal and unconditional. So, but the first point, the beginning of that, is to access the feeling, isn't it? To go to the feeling, cultivate that feeling. And that's the basis of, it's an emotion. It's a development of an emotional feeling. And that feeling is then spread across all beings. So we unconditionally, we don't judge people and think, are they worth it? Do they deserve it? We do it unconditionally. And that sounds maybe unrealistic, but actually this is our practice, to cultivate the Brahma Viharas unconditionally, without limit, towards all beings. I found that that was an interesting, that's where that reflection took me. So I thought I would share it with you. But I didn't share it in the meditation because I felt like I'd let you find your own way, your own way to reflect on whatever it was, your own theme. It's not about me just saying it should be this way. What I'm offering is a way, tools to reflect with, ways to reflect, how to reflect. You can. This is a way of doing it. Is to note, to name something, to peel away the label, words by word, every word, take away the words until you're left with no words. You're left with just the feeling that doesn't need words. So we abandon. It's an interesting thing. It's a path of like abandoning words, and because with words we can argue, we can. And I sent an email to somebody today, and at the end of the email I said, with words, it's just like emails. An email exchange is just an exchange of words, isn't it? And what eventually a person sends that last email, and they have the last word. But that can be just a battle of words. They sent the last email, but the other person just accepted. They didn't respond to their email, so that means that they just allowed, they accepted. They ended the exchange of emails with acceptance. It didn't mean that they agreed with them, but they chose not to reply and perpetuate this exchange of words. And in a way, this is in our meditation practice, we can, the experience of our minds can be like an exchange of emails. It can be lots of words after words after words, like a battle of words. And we let go. We have to eventually let go of words, because words are just a battleground of misconception, or the best attempts to get in fact they're worse than that, because they can be just dismissive. We've named it. If we can name it, then we can dismiss it. If we say, metta is loving kindness, then we dismiss it. We don't experience loving kindness by giving it a name. We say karuna is compassion, we just dismiss it. We don't experience compassion by naming it, just giving it a name. So we can use names to be very dismissive, but these labels. But so our meditation practice, can be practiced it's a way of bringing words to an end. We cut through words. Eventually, we cut through to the experience of the truth is in the experience of things, not in the words that we use to describe them. We can attach to words thinking that's the truth, and then we can hold a position about that. We can say, no, this is it. This is what it is. But that's not truth. And truth is only found when we let go of words. Truth is in the experience before we put words to explain it. So that's why we keep coming back to the experience. We keep letting go and not believing in the words we use, so that we can keep on experiencing things afresh. Because as soon as you label it and you think you know it, then you stop that. You deprive the moment of its freshness. We think we know what it is, and then we don't listen. We stop listening. We stop noticing, and we stop experiencing things as they really are. So it's quite I find it quite interesting, this disentangling process. This meditation is a disentangling. It ends in when the mind is a peaceful state of mind, where words cease. There are no words there. If there were words, the mind wouldn't be peaceful. It would still be restless. And that doesn't mean the ending of the world. Just because there are no words, it doesn't mean the world comes to an end. So I just offer that for reflection. If somebody would please like to unmute themselves, if they can do that, if Randu can give people permission to unmute, if they can. If they can't, oh dear, Wendy's going to have to unmute, allow people to unmute. But if not, then while Wendy's doing that, maybe you could send me a question in chat.
Madeline bowing in.
Madeline.
I found this meditation this evening really so helpful. I'm struggling a little bit with a difficulty with my son. I don't really know what the problem is, but I think he's very unhappy, but I don't really know what's causing his unhappiness. And it's causing me a lot of grief as well. So I think I'm this evening, I really was able to just sit with it and think, just be with what is. Just sit with it. I don't understand it. I don't have a solution for it. I'm just accepting it, and with an open heart, be with what is. And he sent me an angry email, and I have no idea why he's angry, but I'm not going to respond to it. So that was a really, really helpful meditation. Letting go, being with what is, with a kind and loving heart, open heart.
Yeah.
And just accepting things, really.
Yes, it is like that, isn't it? I think that's listening to somebody sends an angry email, but if we reply, then we get into this battle of words if we're not careful. That's what happens. And if we can allow the space for that person, then we give them the opportunity to reflect on what they've said rather than engage with it. And it's surprising, it can often have a very positive outcome because there's no, that email exchange comes to an end because there's no reply. So the next email's got to be on a new, normally it's a new trail. And it's a bit like that with when we have, in other ways of communication. If we don't respond when people are angry, then it invites them to start a new way of communicating.
I'll just explain a little bit more. His father died when he just was a few days short of his 52nd birthday. And my son was 52 on Saturday. And he said he's going on a health kick because he's reading in the newspapers obituaries of people who are 52. And as I kind of really thought in a very motherly kind way, said, are you thinking about Dad when you're thinking? And he just wrote back a one-word email, no. And that was just put me down completely, shut me down completely. And I found it very, very difficult to understand. But I just have to be with it and leave it be.
We don't know, do we? We don't really know what that word, a single word, is. If we'd heard the word, there's so many different connotations depending on how it was said. So we are what we do, or the way our minds work, is that we create stories about things. Our mind rushes off and creates the whole story about a single word. Yet and we don't need to. And this is weird because it's something we're doing. Then it's something we don't have to do. So when we realize I'm making this story up, this is I'm imagining all this, then we know that we can stop it. We can stop it. We don't need to fix the other person. We bring it back to ourselves. And when we don't make a problem out of it.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. So I don't know what's behind the no. So I have to just leave it be.
You have to let it be. And if he wants to tell you more, he will. It will come up like that, won't it? In some time, in some opportunity, it may be 20 years from now. You might explain what that meant. And we have to be patient. There's nothing, we don't need to fix something. If we think it's a problem I've got to fix, we make it worse.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. That meditation.
If I can say something.
Mario.
Anger sometimes is an expression of grief, a stage of grief. So don't take it personally. It might come up that way. It is just a way of discharging a little bit of energy. It is typical.
That's a lovely example, Madeline. Thank you. That's helpful. I think Marjorie's going to unmute. Oh, you've managed it. Well done.
I just wondered why we formally sit on the cushion, meditate. Because you could think if what we've got here in the here and now is enough, why would we formally sit on the cushion?
Yeah, you don't have to formally sit on the cushion to meditate. It's obvious that
very important.
Yeah.
But I would why you sit on the cushion, or why we all sit on the cushion.
It's a very good question, and of course, you need to investigate the answer for yourself. Because it's why do I sit on a cushion to meditate, as opposed to why do we sit on a cushion to meditate? The Buddha talked about meditating in 4 postures, didn't he? And you see Buddha Rupas sometimes standing, sometimes sitting, sometimes walking, and sometimes lying down. And obviously, there's an in-between of those 4 postures. There's got to be, you don't stop meditating in between those 4 postures. If you're standing up, you meditate. You meditate when you're sitting down, before you sat down. You don't wait until you're sitting down before you start meditating. That's the way to practice. There is no real break. It doesn't depend on a posture. Although we have, we have the opportunity to choose a posture, which is a way of, it's a kind of conditioning process. So I'm sitting on a cushion. This is for meditation, and that's a conditioning thing. Where I will establish an upright posture. I will calm the mind. So these are conditioning things because we've connected that with the sitting, and we didn't. That's sometimes also to do with the environment. So we sit in a particular place in the house. We're always used to sitting, which is where we meditate or something like that. Of course, it's about conditioning. It's skillful use of conditioning. It's not unskillful. But it's not something. But we should know that these are like. This is what it is. This is conditioning. It's not. Meditation isn't dependent on being in a particular place or a particular posture, but it can be helpful conditioning just to create the space and the right frame of mind to practice. I like meditating on underground trains and and going on through the London rush hour and things like that. That's why I like going to the Buddhist Society.
I think I meditate to like calm the mind, so therefore it can be in a better condition, and hopefully I get better cause and effects. That's why I think I meditate. But before, I think I used to meditate to calm the mind. I just wanted calm because it was so chaotic. But now I don't mind what the mind is.
Yeah, that's really good. Because if we're insisting that the mind should be a particular way, like calm, then we feel like we're not meditating if the mind's not calm. But of course, it's not like that. The meditation is particularly beneficial when the mind's not calm, because we've got so much, we really benefit from being aware, practicing mindfulness then, to notice that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Or observations? Or reflections? One thing I've found that to come out of this way of practicing is that we can think that well, maybe I should be focusing on the breath, because people, have heard teachers encourage us to focus on the breath, so I should focus on the breath. But I've found in my own practice that by this process of disentangling, stepping back from, rather than kind of trying to control and interfere with the mind, but continually disentangling or stepping back from the mental mind as it presents itself, by noticing what it is, how it is, and just being present with it, that the mind naturally calms down. Now, it doesn't make much sense, because you'd think, oh no, if you want to calm the mind, you would focus on the breath. But when we don't interfere with the mind, it calms down itself by itself. This is just what I experience. Because we're not giving it any fuel, we're not buying into what it presents to us. We're not believing in it, or saying it should be or shouldn't be like this. So it's completely deprived of fuel, and it just it's got nowhere to go. It's like, oh, you're not engaging with me. You won't play with any games with the mind. So you just leave it be, and it's like uncoils itself. And then I find that it's far more fruitful when the breath presents itself to focus or to notice the breath, because rather than trying to make the mind focus on the breath, it's as though the mind calms down, and then you're ready for the mind's ready to notice the breath. It's kind of got, it's let go to a certain extent of its restlessness and its busyness, and it's ready to notice. So when the breath comes up, it's as though the breath comes to you, it presents itself to be focused upon. So I find that the mind, that can also sustain our practice, rather than trying to, this is what I've found, rather than trying to choose an object and make the mind focus on it. It helped me anyway to let the mind calm down, let the mind be free and relax and calm down, not engage with it, and let it, and then notice, well, what comes up is, oh, the breath, the mind is automatically being paid attention to the posture, or automatically, oh, it's discovered the breath. And that then, letting the mind rest, it's less resistant to the object. And if you try to force it and say you should focus on this or that, but actually you don't need to focus on anything really. But it's just if it happens that way, you can focus on it. Marianne.
I just wanted to say I've come close myself to that, because there is always the danger of wanting to do meditation and being in control and so on, whereas we need to open up to life as it happens and embrace it. It is not really a passive role, it is a total acceptance, and without the constant drive to be in charge and be focused on this and that and the other. It is a relief to some extent.
Yes, it's a great relief. Yeah, it's been a long journey, because obviously I wasn't able to do, well, at first, I don't think I've ever done anything else, because I remember I was going to say, no, I didn't do that at the beginning, but I think at the beginning I struggled to focus the mind, and I found that the best I could do was simply to notice the mind's busyness. The mind was all over the place, and that was what I could do, was to notice that. And I find that there was so much truth in that natural kind of insight right from the beginning, that actually that seemed to have been a path to allow the mind to recognize, but not to criticize and blame and judge, but to rather to allow the mind to be as it is, and treat it more like a small child, gently accepting it to be like this, just holding its hand, taking it gently. Yeah.
I think you said, Martin, that you used the phrase something like using words deprives the moment of its freshness. And that really did strike a chord with me. And I find myself perhaps reflecting on what you've said or what somebody else has said, and trying to work out exactly what I think about it, and to try and put those forms into a set of words that ends up just killing the moment. And I kind of find myself going around in ever decreasing circles in order to choose exactly the right way of expressing what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. And in the end, it almost paralyzes in a way, actually. So I think that phrase, the moment loses its, the words mean the moment loses its freshness, is really.
Yes, and also practice isn't about words. It's not about getting the right words, either the right words or holding on to the words a teacher's spoken, or getting those words in that they've come up in our own minds and thinking, now I've got it because I've got it in words. The getting of it happens, if you get anything at all, it happens before you put it into words. And when you put it into words, you're only going to get half the truth, if you get any of it, by putting it into words. And when we hold on to the words, we get no truth at all, because it was an experience. So we have to keep pairing them. But we use words. We have to understand the limitations of words. But more than that, because we give them so much importance, I think, in our society, in our conditioning, or cultural conditioning, gives so much importance to words. We have to put more effort into letting go of the words and moving into the experience and trusting the experience of things, because we're so conditioned to think that we've got to put it into words. And if we can just get the right words, we'll have it.
Yes.
And that's so. Then what do you do? Because when we're conditioned in that way, then we just have to notice that conditioning. Something when we notice, when we that feeling of, I want to capture this in words. We notice, oh, that's the feeling, wanting to capture this in words. That's what it feels like when I want to put it into words. When we discover and we investigate that, because that's how we understand our conditioning, is by working backwards. Think, well, so where's that come from? That feeling, I've got to capture it in words. Why, what's that about? Where did that idea arise from? And what's this condition? To try to unpick the conditioning that's underlying it, because until we understand it, we still believe in it, So we have to work our way backwards. Where does that come from, this idea? That because you can work backwards through your education, through your educational conditioning, and the whole thing in society. But when you get back to a child, go back to being a child, the child didn't have words, but still knew and experienced the world with a sense of wonder, and much more so than somebody as an adult who knows all the right words, but has lost the sense of wonder. And so we're working our way back to that sense of wonder in our meditation practice, is about cultivating a sense of wonder, which is what mindfulness is.
Martin, something you just said there about the busyness of the mind and how much truth could be in noticing that. I suppose just reflecting on that, it's only just dawned on me that the truth, or knowing something truthfully, could precede being calm. And I've always had that feeling that it would be the calmness, and then that would just magically lead to truth. But yeah, I just thought I'd reflect on that, because I thought that was really interesting.
Yes, yeah, that's right. It's certainly true. It certainly can support calm. Calm does support insight. Calming the mind is beneficial. But the being present, let's say that moment where you get the email with just word no, and being present with that experience in the moment, that's really where we're heading. Now, we're not, rather than even, which what we can do, of course, is to bring it up in our meditation. In our meditation practice, we can bring up the words no, and notice the feeling and explore that feeling. But what we're heading for is that that present moment awareness that's aware of the feeling right there and then, fully acknowledges it and accepts it for what it is without judging anybody, either yourself for feeling it or the external conditions that caused the feeling to arise, the thing that we're blaming, because so easily blame the thing that made us feel this way. So neither blaming the external conditions nor the internal feelings and why those feelings, why do I feel like this? No, without any self-criticism or judging anybody, we just notice and just accept the feeling the way it is. And that's our direction of travel, because that means there's no legacy in the present moment. The present moment can be fully experienced, and there's nothing carried over. Nothing to fix. Like there's nothing carried out. It doesn't. There's no karmic conditions that follow on from that present moment, because it's fully experienced and finished with right there. And so then we're in the next moment. But our experience that's only direct, our experience may not be that, but that's the kind of the model that we're heading towards, where we just wake up to the present, and our present moment is not is a fully accepting one rather than judging. That's amazing then, because it's just, you can imagine how easy it would be to be able to have relationships that were based on that present moment, where we don't create these problems out of judging the other person or judging ourselves, and just be present and not to create a problem. Nothing to fix. And maybe this is what equanimity is. I was reflecting on equanimity. Why is there equanimity in the Brahma Viharas? And it's because at the end, there's nothing to fix. That's what a basis of a good relationship. There's nothing to put right. We don't need to, we don't need, ultimately, we're heading in that direction unconditionally and universally towards people with having relationships which don't need to be fixed. There's nothing we need to do to put them right. And that's just kind of an acceptance, isn't it, of other people and ourselves. I think I'll leave it there and finish with the closing homage. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one, I render homage to the Buddha, the blessed one. The teaching so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. So I believe Ajahn Chah series teaching the next week, and then we're breaking up for our summer holidays. So I wish you well and have a good break if you do go away. And if you've gone away, I hope it was good. And if you're staying at home, I hope that's good too. And whatever you do, however it is. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time.